The following is a program of the Santa Barbara County Education Office. To learn more, visit sbceo.org.
I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools, and I'm so delighted to introduce to you our guest today, Jennifer Cline, 5th grade teacher at Oak Valley Elementary School in the Buellton Union School District. Jennifer was named 2018 County Teacher of the Year. We're so honored that you're spending time with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. And we're so excited to dive in and talk about teaching and learning and your students in your classroom. But before we get there, let's start with you, where you were born and raised, your childhood. Give us a little detail about Jennifer Cline as a little girl.
Well, I was born in Seattle, Washington. And then my mother and I started an adventure on our own, and we migrated to California. I spent a little bit of time in the Bay Area, a few years in San Luis Obispo, and then I ended up in the San Ynez Valley in 5th grade, and we stayed there for the rest of my schooling. I did elementary school there, high school, went on to college, and then am back there raising my family, or raised my family, and now teaching.
So a Valley girl.
Yes.
Yes, a San Ynez Valley girl. Love it. And you said that you went to elementary and high school there. Where did you go to college and what did you study?
So right after college, I went off to San Diego State. I was counseled out of teaching and told that business was where the money is. So I went into business and I did not like it at all. So after 3 semesters, I came home and started doing some other things around the valley. I got married and had a child, and then I decided that teaching was what was missing, and so I started a path through Allan, Hancock. I received my early childhood education credential and taught preschool, and then from there wanted to continue. I got my liberal studies degree online at Chico State, and then my master's and credential from Chapman University.
Wonderful. Such a testament to you. You were a working parent, you were a student and parent at the same time, and look where you are today. Love that. You also attended Allan Hancock College, you just said.
Yes.
Got your early childhood education credential there. Tell us about that experience with Hancock, because we all know that it's such a jewel in our community. Right. How was that experience for you?
It was a great program, especially for a working parent. Their online courses were just starting to evolve, and so there was a variety of classes I could take online or in the evening when my husband would be home to take care of the children. So it really is a phenomenal program. The teachers had great information, and it was just a great program for that credential and for a working parent too.
How do you think your pathway, your somewhat non-traditional pathway of getting into teaching, which is that sounds like you started off thinking about teaching when you went to San Diego, but really until a lot later did you get your credential. How does that pathway impact you as a teacher today? You weren't somebody who went from high school to college to teaching. So
Right. I think one of the main things is I was already a mother for a few years, and being a teacher after having experience with children before, and rather than before having that experience, I think that brings a little level of maturity into the classroom, and so that was a great head start for me as well. It also taught people around me perseverance and patience. I think it was a great lesson for my children that whatever roadblocks they come against, they can still reach their goals eventually.
Love it. Always a teacher, even at home, Jennifer. I love that. So your current teaching assignment is at Oak Valley Elementary School. I know everybody there is so proud of you, and the whole district and the valley too. How did you get to Oak Valley?
Well, both of my children went kindergarten through 8th grade at the Buellton Union School District, and I fell in love with it from the beginning. I volunteered in their classes. I loved the staff and everybody who worked there. So when I received my credential and could substitute in classrooms, I started subbing. Long-term subs. I did my student teaching there in 1st and 5th grade, and then right after that landed a position teaching 1st grade For 3 years, and now I've been in 5th grade for the past 8 years.
Wonderful. And one grade before you, 4th grade, I think was a big year for you as a child in 4th grade. I know there was a teacher that really inspired you, and it sounds like really impacted you. Can you tell us about that teacher and your experience?
Yeah, that was in San Luis Obispo. His name was Mr. Penley, and he solidified that ideal that a teacher can build a relationship with a student that can have an impact on them inside and outside of the classroom. And he just had a sense that my life might not have been as easy as some of the other students in his class. And so he was able to make a connection with me that made me feel important and cherished in that classroom. And it really helped me educationally. And also, I think at that point, that solidified the idea that this is what I wanted to do. And I would say back when I was in my credential course and reflecting on the type of teacher I wanted to be and teachers who impacted me, I decided that building relationships with students and knowing what was going on outside of the classroom, knowing the whole student, was very important to getting to know your students and teaching them.
Yeah, so that 4th grade teacher back then really has impacted you as a professional now.
Yes.
And I know that relationship building and connections are such a big part of who you are as a teacher. How do you fold that into your everyday with your students today, the
Right.
connections and relationships? How do you build them?
Well, first of all, I think it's important that students trust you so that they're able to learn. A high student needs to trust you so that they can perhaps fail for the first time, but realize that they can still overcome that hurdle and succeed. On the opposite spectrum, a lower student needs to trust you to also be able to persevere past difficult obstacles. I get to know the students inside the classroom, but also outside. We talk a lot about our interests and what we do. I'm at their football games and their soccer games, and I see them in the grocery store, at farmers market. I'm constantly having older students come back and come see me, and so that to me makes me realize that important decision to build relationships with them, that it carries on out of the classroom, and I see that, and it's very rewarding.
That's lovely. Both in and out of the classroom connections, I think, do really make a difference. Jennifer, we won't want to go further without acknowledging again that you are the 2018 Teacher of the Year for Santa Barbara County, and you represent such great educators. You yourself are an incredible educator. What does that mean to you, and how did it feel to hear that you were selected as Teacher of the Year?
Right. Well, it's very humbling. I feel that every teacher deserves this that I've worked with or that has mentored me or that I'm working with today, just because we all work together, we collaborate. So I think that myself winning this award is a representation of everybody who I work with and who has been part of my life as a teacher. 3:18 p.m. on that afternoon when Steve Keithley called me, I'll never forget that moment. It was very surreal and very just wow. And then it sunk in, oh wow. And so it's been a definite roller coaster ride since then, and one that's going to continue for the rest of until next summer, so I'm enjoying it.
Sounds like time stood still for that moment, and we're again so proud of you and so honored that you're our Teacher of the Year and spending some time with us today. So you talked about collaboration just a moment ago, collaboration with your colleagues, but you also emphasize collaboration within your classroom with your students. Tell us what that looks like. How do you build that?
Oh, any time during the day where the students can work together, I feel is so much better than sitting listening to me talk. Sometimes I feel like the Charlie Brown teacher, wah, wah, wah. So I feel that students can gain even more knowledge from each other, hearing somebody explain something in a different way, and learning how to respectfully agree or disagree with somebody and still come to an end in a project, I think is just a great tool for students to have. And it gives them just a different modality of learning and getting up out of their seat, moving around. Who wants to sit in a chair for 6 hours? I don't, so I don't expect them to. And so almost every element of the day, there's some time where they're collaborating and working together to solve a problem.
And outside of the classroom, I want to say after school, it sounds like you have a STEM program or a club that you run. Can you tell us about that?
Right. So I don't personally run the fourth grade STEM program, but we, as teachers with fourth and fifth graders, we have STEAM rotations. And so we've developed that curiosity, and we brought the Educators Rising Club from the high school in, and they are running that club. I took it to a grade, that's for fourth grade, so then I personally have invited our robotics club to come and work with second and third graders this year. We're starting a after-school robotics club for them, and to have them work in the classroom with the second and third graders after school and continue that STEM education.
Great. So for our viewers who might need a reminder on STEM and STEAM,
Correct.
would you mind sharing with everybody what that stands for?
Sure. So the STEAM will be S is for science, T is technology, E is engineering, A is art, and then M is mathematics. And so then STEM would just be without the art. So we bring the art in and have it all part of our rotations that all fourth and fifth graders have a part of during their learning day.
Great. And you said that you bring in some high school students, or the program brings in high school students from their club to support
Right.
the students after school in the STEAM program. How did the older students react to working with the younger ones?
Oh, they love it. The kids look up to them with such idle curiosity, and they're learning to be mentors, and they're learning that they have an impact on the youth. I think it's great for their future, whether they want to be teachers or whether they want to be engineers. I think it's important to give back to your community, and these are going to be our future leaders, and to have an impact on their lives, I think is phenomenal.
And you talk about community. We joked a little bit earlier about being a Valley girl, and in this case it's Santa Ynez Valley, which is such a tight community, a wonderful place to raise your children, be a teacher, go to school, and just reside. So how does the community in Buellton or in the Valley rally around schools, you as a teacher, kind of supporting one another? Tell us a little bit about that community.
Right. It's a great community, valley-wide or just in Buellton. There are plenty of opportunities for people to volunteer in the classroom. There are plenty of community events where they come into the school and help out, whether it's with anti-bullying or any other program that we might feel that's beneficial for the students. They help run our library, they help run our, help the kitchen, they help out anywhere that we need in the classroom. They're supportive. You see them out and about in the community, and they're always there to welcome you and say hi, and it's just a wonderful place.
Sometimes people talk about advantages of living in the community and working in the community. Some people say, well, they'd rather be away from their community or live away from it. How do you feel living there, having raised your kids there, teaching there, and really being out and about in the community?
Right.
You probably can't go very far without running into somebody you know.
You can't. You need to pay attention to, did I do my hair and makeup this morning when you leave? But no, I enjoy it. I know some people would rather not see their students or families outside of school, but I personally love it. That's part of that connection for me of building relationships with students and seeing what they're doing after school and at home, and meeting their parents and meeting their siblings and grandparents and whoever else, seeing them out and about at either the grocery store or at an event, a football game, a community barbecue. It's a lot of fun to see them in those elements as well, not just in the classroom.
I'm sure they're equally as excited to see you. They're teacher sighting, a celebrity sighting in the community. So let's turn to technology for a moment. You're really a technology go-getter. You really embrace how technology can work for your students in their classroom as a tool for instruction and learning. Talk to us a little bit about that technology in your classroom.
Right. Well, when I first started teaching, we didn't really have much technology other than a computer lab at our school. And I was noticing just the shift in the way we were all raising our kids. We had televisions in the car, kids are on their devices at the dinner table, and so to expect them to go from that to sitting at 6 hours and reading a book or listening to a teacher, there was a shift needed to happen. And I didn't want to plug them in for 6 hours, but that's what they enjoyed. That's how they enjoyed reading and learning, and so I figured, why not bring it into the classroom somehow? And so I started at a Basic Q Rockstar conference and said, we need to do this. And I remember a story of Matt Zukowitz and I trying to put an iPad on a pizza rack to use as a dock camera. Just crazy things of trying to shift and bring it into the classroom. And it worked, and the students love that sometimes they know more than you. They know how to fix it. They know how to turn it on. that led to bringing games such as Minecraft into the classroom, where I let them build, after we study the 13 colonies, they build a colony within Minecraft, and that's something that they just love. They enjoy researching on the devices and learning about new things and sharing them with their peers. So it's been a great tool to bring in.
That's great. What kind of devices are they using in your classroom?
So we have, for 3rd through 5th grade, we have 2-to-1 MacBook Airs, laptops, and then K through 2 has a 2-to-1 iPad program down.
Such a shift from when we all started teaching to now, isn't it true?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, something that you said about yourself as a learner of technology is that you experiment a little, and sometimes mistakes happen, and sometimes great things happen, and you just learn from that. And I'm sure you see that with your students too. They experiment. Earlier you talked about even failing being part of an important part of growing. Do you teach that in your classroom in terms of failure and what that means in terms of growth and learning?
Oh, definitely. I'd say it's probably first and foremost in our class, because I don't feel that you can progress further if you haven't made a mistake and learned from your mistakes. I have a poster in my classroom, which I borrowed from a co-teacher, that says mistakes in this classroom are expected, inspected, and respected. And so I'm the first to say I make mistakes, and the kids love it when I make a mistake, but I do quite frequently, writing and talking at the same time often lends to not writing something correctly. But I challenge the students to make a mistake and share their mistake, defend their mistake, and learn from it, and figure out what they can do better next time. And we talk about the growth mindset of learning, and how you can't grow further until you've made a mistake and corrected that and moved past it. So it's been a great shift in learning for us.
You really are intentional around learning and growing, and the fact that making mistakes is part of it, and it actually can it reinforce some of the things and enforce some of the things in terms of growing and learning. That's wonderful. And hands-on experiences, project-based learning, hands-on, I know that's just a big part of who you are as a teacher. Are there particular projects that you can talk about that you have students work on in that sort of hands-on or project-based way?
Oh, several. One we're doing right now to reinforce map concepts in geography. The students are in groups, and they're building their own worlds. And so on a map, they have to do continents and all the different geographical features, the map features, the legend, the compass rose, and everything, but they get to create their own worlds and theme it around whatever theme they feel like. So that's been fun. I love to do simulations, so we're getting ready to be Columbus and explore the New World. And then in the spring, we'll go on the Oregon Trail, and we'll be a pioneer. So I think that's a great tool for learning for students, is to be part of it. And they really remember those things.
Such great examples of project-based learning and hands-on experience. Thanks for sharing that. And we both, I'm sure, all of us agree that teachers significantly impact students' lives. And sometimes there's a student that just stands out that really has impacted your life. It's hard to select just one, but if you could select just one as an example, is there anyone that stands out to say, wow, this student really impacted me as a professional, as a teacher, as a person?
Right. I wrote about him before, John, as I call him, and it was one of those first years I was teaching 5th grade, and he was a kind of a rough and tumble kid and never really did homework, and I finally sat down and talked to him about why, and he just nobody cared. It was his philosophy. So that's when I first kind of started caring a little bit more about students who might have needed that from maybe something they were lacking at home. And he has not had the easiest time educationally, but we've stayed in touch, and he came back to me. I ran into him a couple months ago, and he just wanted to make sure that I knew that he appreciated that I cared about him. And he in turn is now caring about people in his life, showing he is a father at the age of 16, now he's 18, but he wanted me to know that child's going to be loved and cared for just as I cared about him. So that was probably one of the most impacting moments so far that I've had.
That's
as
great.
a teacher.
You really did impact him. You might have really changed his life in ways that wouldn't have happened had you had not had those conversations with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, that's one example of just the greatness that comes with being a teacher. But for you, what are some of the other best parts of being a teacher?
It all has to do, I think, around the students, just seeing their faces when they learn something new or when they've struggled and now have understood a concept. I think that both of my daughters are going into teaching. I think that's such a great sign of them seeing me teach and through the years and wanting to follow in those footsteps. Working with phenomenal people, I think teachers are a great set of human beings, and they have just a wonderful way of working with each other and working with students, and we're constantly learning from each other, constantly. And so to me, I don't wake up and dread going to work ever. I love every morning getting up and going to work and seeing what the children have done the night before and what they're excited about and what I can learn from everybody.
That's great. Your 2 daughters are going into teaching. Are they in school right now?
My youngest just started at Northern Arizona University, and she wants to be a teacher, a coach, and kind of PE health teacher. And my other daughter has taken the special education route, and she wants to be a behavioral psychologist in a classroom. And so she is going to school at Santa Barbara City College, and she's a special education consortium aide at the high school.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you,
Thank you.
Mom, too. So teaching really is a 24-hour experience, really. You're planning the lessons and, in the future, you're considering the formative information you get after a class, and then you're teaching during the day. So sometimes it could be easy to get off balance a little bit. How do you relax and unwind?
I think just family and friends are very important in that. My family and I, we enjoy, taking trips to the beach, camping, just going to barbecues. My friends and I, we enjoy walking. We do long walks, half marathons, and other adventures that we've set off on, 32-mile walks and such.
Wow.
And so we enjoy just kind of unwinding and doing that. So usually once a week, we're on an 8 or 10-mile walk around the valley, and we're all teachers, and so we're decompressing, and we're talking, and we're just relaxing. So a few ways.
That sounds really great. I might have to join you. I might invite myself too.
Right,
often.
anytime.
You said decompress, so I thought
and there's
maybe
breakfast after.
that sounds really great. That sounds really great. So for your own daughters who are entering into teaching, and for up-and-coming teachers who are starting in their professions, what advice do you have for our new teachers?
I would say have patience and persevere through the tough times. You're going to have shifts in curriculums, shifts in standards, shifts in administration. You're going to have easier times and tough times, but you just have to stick through it. If this truly is your calling and you want to be in a classroom with students, they need you. It doesn't matter what's going on outside of the classroom. They need you in that classroom to be focused on them. And so just stick with it, have patience, collaborate with the people around you who can support you, and don't be afraid to ask for that help around you.
Great advice. And being an excellent teacher as you are, being our Teacher of the Year as you are, one of the things I'm sure you do is continually think about and hone your practice as a learner. And so you might attend professional development opportunities or read some books, or there might be a number of things that really inspire you and continue your learning as a teacher. Are there particular experiences in those learning experiences that you could look back and say that those really did inspire you or change you or help you grow as a teacher?
Definitely. I would say for technology, Allan November and the few sessions that he put on at the Santa Barbara County Ed Office, those were enlightening for technology. My co-teacher, Lisa Melby, and I have been reading a lot about Jo Boaler and her growth mindset philosophy in math especially, but in every language. So this year we've really been focusing on reading her books and showing her videos to the class and taking that path through math this year and every day, all day long, not just math, but that growth mindset and what she has to say about that.
Yeah, two excellent examples. Thank you for sharing that. And what about mentoring? Do you mentor other teachers formally or informally? Mm-hmm. Or have you had mentors yourself, whether formal or informal? And how has that impacted you?
I think on both shifts, being mentored and being a mentor mm-hmm. is a huge benefit. The two student teachers or master teachers that I had when I was a student teacher both still work at the school, and they were wonderful in my student teaching. On the flip side, I have had a student teacher myself through Antioch, and that was a great process. And then our high school has an intro to education class where they send high school students out into the classrooms to be interns, and I've had an intern every semester since I've been teaching, and that's just so rewarding to see that age, junior or senior in high school, with that excitement about teaching come into the classroom, and the students just love them and idolize them, and they have some great ideas, and they're not afraid to get in front of the class and ham it up and be silly and have fun with them. So it's been a great experience.
That's great. Well, as you zoom out and you look at teaching and you look at your experiences and you look at where we are in terms of education with students, what would you say are some of the big issues that you're thinking about in terms of education and our students today?
I think that it's tough with budget cuts, and every year it seems it's a pendulum swing. It gets better just before it gets worse again, and so our school is facing some of those cuts that everybody else is, and how do you still teach to the kids when you have now 30 in a class maybe instead of 22, and maybe less aid time, but you just have to be there for the students, and so that's something I just have to remember, things that you can teach that you don't need, that kindness and how to collaborate and work together. And so I just have to keep that mindset, and also the shift in standards and curriculum will always be there, and just be there for the kids and teach them what they need to know. And that shift seems to be a pendulum swing, like I've said before, that keeps swinging back and forth, so you just have to adapt and roll with it.
So you see the issues, and yet you know that you have a charge of teaching and learning, and you're moving forward. You're such an example and model for so many. As we wind down the interview today, Jennifer, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share a message with your students. I know your students will be watching. What do you have to say to them?
I guess I would just say that keep doing what you're doing, keep persevering, keep making those mistakes and learning from them, and helping your friends, be kind, and work together.
And what about some of the parents who are watching today? Any message to them?
I would also say the same. Let your children fail sometimes and show them that it's okay, that you're still going to support them, and then be on the other side when they come out and they've succeeded and learn from their mistake, whether on the field, in the classroom, whether a grade or a sport or whatever, but support them no matter what happens.
Finally, one last message as we conclude the interview, because you have such great fellow teachers. They support you and you support them. What is a message that you'd like to share with your fellow educators back at your home school? Just
thank you. Thank you for your support. And thank you for being there with me through this amazing run that's going on right now, too. They're very supportive. And I borrow things from other teachers. We all do. And we work together, and everybody shares so much amongst our campus. So I just thank them for all their support and being by my side.
That's great. Jennifer, it's such a pleasure to talk with you and share your story today. I was so privileged to have visited you in your classroom last week, to see you in your element, to see what you said today just ring true. And you're such an ambassador, truly, for all that's great in education. We're so proud of you and so honored to have you represent educators in Santa Barbara County. Congratulations again, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Local Leaders.